Hello, my name is Stephen Upton. I'm a Minister of the Spiritualist National Union, and the topic I've chosen to speak to you about is the beginnings of modern spiritualism. For our story, we have to go back to 1848 and to North America, and more precisely to upper New York State, to a very small village called Hydesville. Still there today, and if you look on your map, it's not far from Rochester. Our story goes back and starts in the March of that year, 1848. And we go to a very small cottage, and living in that cottage was a family. John and Margaret Fox, and two of their children that were still living with them by the names of Kate and Margaretta. Kate being 12, Margaretta 14. And for several weeks prior to the events that we're going to describe in a moment, they were having phenomena within the house, rappings. That is, noises occurring on the walls, on the doors, and as hard as they tried, they couldn't find out who was causing them, because at first they thought it was a neighbour playing tricks upon them. But no, it wasn't. And even when somebody was stood on both sides of a door, knocks could still be heard on it. But our story now turns to the events on the 31st of March of that year, 1848. And this evening, Kate, the youngest of the two children, became quite bold. And all of a sudden, fed up with these noises, she said out loud, "Do as I do, Mr. Splitfoot," and clapped her hands twice. Back came two raps. And the reason why this event is so important, because it showed that whatever was causing these noises had an intelligence. It knew what she was doing, what she was saying, and could respond intelligently. They soon developed a code. Perhaps it was one rap for yes, two raps for no. But they then started to ask more detailed questions to test this intelligence. And for example, the mother, Margaret, said, "How many children do I have?" And back came 6 raps. They said, "No, that's wrong. I've only got 5 children." But the intelligence insisted. 6 raps came back. And then she remembered. She had one other child that had passed over some years earlier, so the intelligence was correct. She'd had 6 children. By building up these communications that evening, they discovered that this intelligence had a name. He was an ordinary person by the name of Charles B. Rosner, and 5 years earlier, he claimed, he'd been murdered in that very house by the previous occupants, and his remains had been buried in the cellar. Well, as word of this and news spread to their neighbours, they came in, they questioned Charles, and all the answers were always correct. They even excavated in the cellar, but at that time they found a few scarce remains, but it wasn't until 50 years later, when a dividing wall in the cellar collapsed, they found a full human skeleton, thereby proving the claim of this intelligence. This is what we call physical mediumship, producing physical phenomena that impinges upon the physical senses. Everybody present heard those raps. Over the next few weeks, the Fox family, getting a little bit concerned about this, and in particular the attention it was drawing, they moved from Hydesville to stay with an elder daughter in her home. Her name was Leah. And they decided that they didn't want this to occur anymore. So they prayed to the spirit world to stop it. And they did. However, many people counseled and saying, "Please, allow this communication to continue. It's so important to us." Unfortunately for us here today, the Fox sisters decided to reopen that line of communication. And right across North America, from 1848, there was an explosion of physical phenomena, communication with people claiming to have died. Then in 1852, Maria Hayden, the first medium, travelled across to England, bringing her mediumship here. These are the beginnings of modern spiritualism. And in a later talk, we'll talk to you a bit more about how it expanded in North America, how the different types of phenomena progressed, and also particularly here in the United Kingdom. I'd like to thank you for listening. This talk has been brought to you by the Spiritualist National Union and is one of a series of talks upon the philosophy, of the phenomena and the history of spiritualism. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.